Muchachos y muchachas, day 7 of the Ghislaine Maxwell trial. Yesterday, we left off with a new witness by the pseudonym 𝘏𝐻𝐿, who gave her account of, the process that she entered in getting to know Ghislaine Maxwell and the encounters that she had with Epstein, the sexualization of her encounters, as well as some insight into the household by some law enforcement and agents that also testified. We also got to know some of the items that were encountered within those households and some very telling details that would allege some sexualization of the atmosphere. Today, we have a new witness accuser that goes by the pseudonym Carolyn, as well as an FBI agent that testify their details. Stay right there. We're going to go through it. A new study is highlighting some important facts about our wrinkles. In this study, women were asked how their mood would change if they looked younger. 31% of these women said that they feel more confident, while 15% said they would feel more like themselves. 11% said they feel more relaxed, while 9% said they'd be happier. Our confidence is sometimes directly tied to our appearance. Unfortunately, wrinkles and sagging skin can hold us back from reaching our true happiness we deserve. This is why I highly recommend Glow with Natly. I couldn't believe how effective this rejuvenating serum really was when I first started using it. Within no time, my skin felt smoother and firmer. It's the only anti-aging serum I've ever used that truly works for me. If you want to help restoring your youthful glow, you'll love Glow with Natly. Get up to 38% off in the next 24 hours by going to glowwithnatly.com or by clicking the link below. All right, day 7 of the Ghislaine Maxwell trial. And before I get into this, I just want to remind you that I just launched my very own cosmetics company just last week. I am one of the very few Patriot-owned cosmetic companies, if not the only. This palette comes with 9 very pigmented eyeshadows, a blush, a highlight, 2 blushes, 1 highlighter, 1 contour, and they are very great quality. These are long-lasting lip colors that dry down matte, but they are not dry. And I'm actually wearing Fawn, this color right here on my lips right now. So if you like what I'm wearing, it's every single color from this palette. And you can get the collection at natlydenisecosmetics.com. Please support small businesses as especially if they are Patriot-owned. That, again, is a link in the description below. All right, let's jump right into this day 7 of the Ghislaine Maxwell trial. So there was a technicality that was uncovered upon the beginning of the day 7, and that is that one of the accusers, as you guys remember, Jane, she testified, I believe, day 2 and day 3. Day 1 was more opening arguments. Day 2, day 3 was the start of the accuser witness testimonies. And one of the accusers apparently called her brother, who was set to testify. And because this happened and it was uncovered by the defense of Ghislaine Maxwell, one of the defense attorneys that covered this, they're suggesting that her brother not testify and be barred. So continue on. The trial of Ghislaine Maxwell took an unusual turn on Tuesday morning as a defense lawyer revealed that a key government witness, Jane, the first accuser to testify, had called for her brother and complained about how she had been treated during the cross-examination. Because Jane's brother was also scheduled to testify and witnesses are in trial are typically told not to consult each other, Miss Maxwell's defense suggested that Jane's brother should be barred from taking the stand. Now, this is especially unfortunate because I believe that every single accuser witness testimony has a lot of weight in their own respect. And so if we don't get one perspective, that's one huge loss. Now, one thing that I can also attest to this is that, the defense team has consistently, their tactic has been to consistently discredit each witness accuser. And so this especially is not very surprising that they're trying to completely discredit this, witness from even testifying. The defense lawyer, Laura Mininger, said the defense had only just learned of the call from the government. In the call, Jane discussed some of her testimony and used an expletive To describe Ms. Menninger, who had vigorously cross-examined her, the government had told the defense lawyers. "I'm very troubled and disturbed," Ms. Menninger said. "Testifying in court can be stressful and even wrenching experience," said Ms. Menninger, made it clear that what was prompted in her complaint was that Jane's brother, known as Brian, was also expected to testify as a government witness in the Maxwell trial in Manhattan as early as Tuesday. Ms. Menninger asked the judge, Allison J. Nathan of Federal District Court, to forbid the government from calling him as a witness or at least hold a hearing outside of the jury's presence and question him as to exactly what happened during the call. Judges can direct witnesses not to communicate with other witnesses who have yet to testify in trial, a legal expert said. The goal is to keep future witnesses from learning about what was said earlier and tailoring their testimony to conform with what someone said. Now, I'm not going to say that all of this, is on the defense team. I will say that is a pretty important aspect to the whole trial process of the trial. It is true that, if they consult one another, they can definitely tailor their witness testimony, and that can taint the entire, process of the trial. Now, I know that survivors may feel especially vulnerable in these types of settings when they have to recount and regurgitate every single thing that happened to them, especially to impact the outcome as much as we want it to. But I can attest that is a very important aspect, that they don't consult with each other, even though it is an emotionally taxing endeavor that they are going through. So the government has not said explicitly what testimony it was seeking to elicit from Brian, but Ms. Menninger, during the cross-examination of Jane, suggested Jane had once given Brian a version of meeting Ms. Maxwell that conflicted with what she said in court. The government may want Brian to clarify Jane's account. When Jane testified last week, she said in a response to the prosecutor's questions that she was attending a summer arts camp in Michigan in 1994 at the age of 14 when a tall, thin woman, Ghislaine Maxwell, approached her with the cute little Yorkie, and Mr. Epstein soon followed. During cross-examination, Ms. Menninger asked whether Jane had once told her brother that she had been approached by Mr. Epstein. "I don't recall," Jane replied. "Isn't it true you told Brian nothing about Ghislaine Maxwell being there at all, correct?" Ms. Menninger said. Jane said that she did not recall. Late Tuesday, the prosecution told the judge that it had elected not to call Brian as a witness, adding that the government did not believe any rule or court order that had been violated. Now, the explicit word that Jane called this apparent attorney was the C word. It rhymes with front, but it starts with the C. Yeah. So let's turn to the transcripts and get a little juice on this incident here. So this is, again, Matthew Russell Lee, who I am depending on Transcript. He is one of the first independent journalists to, call out the affiliation of Ghislaine Maxwell's Oceanic Foundation with their affiliation with the UN. So this is why I am utilizing his transcripts. I just believe that he has a well-vested interest to keep this 100. All right, going in. Maxwell's lawyer, Menninger. "My request is to find out what was in communication to him by Jane before he gets on the stand in front of the jury. He was shown a document that Jane was asked about, the interlocking application. Judge Nathan says which one, and Menninger says the interlocking school application. The prosecution team, U.S. attorney, said Jane told him the defense lawyer is an expletive. Menninger, but what else did she tell him? Judge Nathan then says he shouldn't testify until after lunch. And now what else is sealed at sidebar discussion, now public, now nor apparently ever, feed will resume after lunch. So now we bring it to the next witness. All right. So now an FBI analyst, Kimberly Meter, is coming up to stand to testify. Jurors were shown a number of photos of Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein together Tuesday morning, including 2 shots that showed Maxwell spilling out a skimpy top while rubbing Epstein's feet aboard an airplane. The photos were identified by FBI analyst Kimberly Meter, who said she reviewed them after CDs that contained the images were taken from Epstein Upper East Side mansion during a law enforcement raid in 2019. Other photos shown included one of Epstein holding Maxwell from behind while speaking on the phone. Another shows them posing on a grassy field with a golden retriever in between them. So I'm actually going to get into these details here. The jury in Ghislaine Maxwell's trial was shown photos of Maxwell massaging Jeffrey Epstein's feet and another of the pair kissing. Taking the stand Tuesday, FBI analyst Kimberly Meter identified the photos found by the FBI during the 2019 raid of the Epstein mansion in Manhattan. She testified as the court was shown 19 photos of Epstein and Maxwell found on the CDs taken from his Manhattan home. The photos have been released to the public in court sketches. During the cross-examination, Meter said she did not know if the images had been altered. The nature of Maxwell and Epstein's relationship has come under question throughout Maxwell's trial, with a prosecutors characterizing them as being partners in crime, while others have testified that they appear to be a couple or having business relationships. Now, just to also remind you guys, the defense attorney's argument is that, hey, they're utilizing Ghislaine Maxwell as a scapegoat because Epstein is not here to stand trial and he's not here to stand justice. So, you know, just to give you guys insight to their further arguments. This came after another photo of the pair kissing was submitted into evidence. That photo showed Maxwell with her arms wrapped around Epstein as they passionately kissed. It sat on a table in Epstein's Palm Beach mansion. Earlier in the day, Tuesday, the court heard from the FBI computer analyst Stephen Flatley, who talked to the jury through the hard drive seized during the 2019 FBI raid. One Microsoft Word document was created in October of 2002 by Maxwell on a hard drive for a computer that was registered in Maxwell's name. It was not clear who the document was for, but it appeared to be something Maxwell was writing for someone else. The document said Jeffrey and Ghislaine have been together, a couple, for at least 11 years. They are, contrary to what people think, rarely apart. I always see them together. Ghislaine is a highly intelligent and great company with a ready smile and an infectious laugh. The document stated that Maxwell and Epstein share many mutual interests and are a lot of fun together, adding that they both had inquisitive minds. The document said Jeffrey and Ghislaine complement each other really well and cannot imagine one without the other. On top of being great partners, they are also best friends. Another Word document on the same hard drive, also created by Maxwell, has an ad she wrote in September of 2001. It read, "Help wanted. Are you a massage therapist? Work in Palm Beach home. Excellent pay, mostly weekends. Please call 351-1000. Leave a message." And this is one of the photos that is alleged to be sketched out in the court. This is one of Epstein and Maxwell smooching. And this is the ad here. "Help wanted. Are you a massage therapist? Excellent pay. Most weekends, please call." So this is, I believe this is what they showed on screen. The same hard drive contained emails sent by Maxwell May of 2001 berating Epstein's Palm Beach house manager, Juan Alessi, who she referred to as John. Maxwell wrote to a woman named Sally that Alessi was doing a truly awful job. Maxwell complained about the filthy pool and how Epstein's massage creams were not tidied up. Maxwell said that "I am at a loss about how to get John to follow her orders." Maxwell had also asked about the progress of the household manual, which appeared to be referred to as the 58-page booklet with hundreds of checklist items for running the residence, which was already admitted into evidence. And I did go over this in my podcast. I do have a podcast Monday through Friday. I'm supposed to start at 9:30 p.m. Sometimes I'm a little bit late, but it's around the 9:30 p.m. time area, Central Time, and I do go over some items that are not necessarily in trial. So you do want to catch that. I did go over this, and there were some very, very tedious asks on this 58-pager. A lot of, just make sure the toothpaste is always half full, and just a lot of intricate things. So it was very tedious. Another document from September of 2002 created by Maxwell was titled "Palm Beach New Shampoo and Massage Products." The list contains 16 different shampoos, 13 massage products to be used in a home, including some of the high-end brands like Kiehl's. Also on Tuesday, Maxwell's second accuser, Carolyn, who is going by her first name instead of pseudonym, testified, so it's not a pseudonym, that's her real name, testified that she was introduced to Epstein by Virginia Roberts when she was 14 years old. And we're going to get into that. So let's get into some of these photos here. So here is the photo. This is one of the release photos of the raid. This is a massage table. I believe this is at the Manhattan mansion. This is just a massage room. You can see here they redacted one of the photos there. It could be, I've heard Judge Allison Nathan call for redaction of, some nude photos, some photos of monsters, as one of the accusers, Jane, had described. This is one of the photos, which seems to be just this oblong, very weird portrait of a middle-aged man, and his face looks distorted. Yeah, that's a bit weird. And I will say that this place looks a little bit more elaborate than the Palm Beach house. This looks to be like a vanity of some sort. CDs that they found within the drawers. And they redacted a lot of photos. Redacted a bunch of photos. Binders. Okay. All right, with that being said, I'm not going to spend too much on that detail, but that's what they found. All right, moving on. All right, next alleged victim, Carolyn, takes a stand. Let's take a look into Carolyn's testimony. Starting here. Ghislaine Maxwell's second accuser, Carolyn, visited Jeffrey Epstein's home more than 100 times. 2 to 3 times a week between the ages of 14 to 18. She claimed on the stand on Tuesday. Carolyn, who is going by only her first name instead of the pseudonym, testified that she was introduced to Jeffrey Epstein, Virginia Roberts, when she was 14 years old, by Virginia Roberts when she was 14 years old, and went to Epstein's Palm Beach mansion where she gave him a massage. Carolyn, wearing an orange, white, and black striped sweater with shoulder-length red hair, told the jury she was met by Maxwell by the door. Maxwell came in and felt my boobs, Carolyn said. She told me that I had a great body for Mr. Epstein and his friends. So there are some implications that they were definitely trafficking these girls out to their elitist friends. Maybe just regular friends, but he was friends with mostly elitists. She added that Maxwell took pictures of me nude and also photographed the stuff with Epstein. Becoming emotional, Carolyn said that Maxwell took off her clothes and Carolyn let her bra and underwear on. Carolyn said that Virginia Roberts was also there. Carolyn said after 45 minutes of massaging his back, Epstein turned over and Epstein and Virginia Roberts began having sex. She said that she watched from the couch and earned $300. When asked why she continued to go back to Epstein's home, Carolyn said it was because she was young and $300 was a lot of money. Also asking the stand Tuesday also taking the stand Tuesday was FBI analyst 𝘱𝘵𝘃, who testified the court was shown a photo of Maxine? Who is Maxine? Maxwell? Maxwell massaging, they meant Maxwell. Daily Mail, you guys need to edit. You need to, what is it called? Yeah, you need what are they called? Editors? Yeah, you need to reread these things. Maxwell is what they meant. Maxwell massaging Epstein's feet and another of the pair kissing. Mitter testified that she found photos on CDs that were taken from Epstein's Manhattan mansion during the 2019 FBI raid. And I did show you guys that the drawer where there were some CDs that were found. And these are some court sketches here. You can see one of the accusers, I believe this is Carolyn, just sobbing at the stand, and then pictures of Epstein seem to be sketched. And this is FBI analyst 𝘱𝘱𝘃, apparently. Continued on. Carolyn's bombshell testimony came on day 7 of the Maxwell's trial. She explained that she dropped out of school in 7th grade and never came back. She moved to Florida from New York when she was a child and troubled upbringing as her mother was an alcoholic and drug addict. Now, this is something I want to continuously mention and bring up. Each one of these girls, it seemed to be that they always had something going on in their family. We heard from Jane, who lost her father due to, I believe, leukemia. There were other witnesses or other accusers that had also broken family situations. Either their mothers were ill or they were poor. So this is just to illustrate to you that these are continual tactics of any trafficker, not just Ghislaine Maxwell and Epstein, but continual efforts of traffickers to identify the vulnerabilities of victims and target them because of that. And they'll do this because they will then love bomb them. They will groom them into the process. We'll take care of you. We'll pay for your schooling. We'll pay for your needs, your basic needs. And so with that being said, I just want you guys to be aware of that. This serves the prosecution's case that Maxwell and Epstein targeted young girls from broken homes. Her grandfather abused her from the age of 4, Carolyn told the jury. She met Epstein when she was 14 through her boyfriend, Sean, who was 17. Sean was friends with Tony Figueroa, who was also dating Virginia Roberts, the Epstein victim who claims that she was forced to have sex with Prince Andrew when she was 17. Okay, pause, stop. I want you guys to also take note of this because we went over this example yesterday. So yesterday, the witness by the pseudonym Kate took the stand and she testified that she met Maxwell through a guy she was dating. Now, what was something that I suspected? And this is just pure speculation. This is just a suspicion. This is not, I'm not saying that this is real or that this is concrete or that this is true. I could be 100% wrong, but I'm finding that this is a pattern now where some of these victims are being met by boyfriends through the use of romance, and it's not to say that this is what actually happened. It could have just been a coincidence that she also had an interest or a boyfriend lover that introduced her to the pyramid scheme. In this case, it was Virginia Roberts, who was actually what seems to be a recruiter at this instance, who then reported to Ghislaine Maxwell. So I just want to put that out there that it seems to be a pattern here where there were boyfriends involved, and it makes me wonder if they were part of the Epstein saga pyramid scheme. Carolyn said that the 4 of them used to hang out and smoke pot until one day Roberts brought up Epstein. Carolyn said, Virginia asked me if you wanted to go make money. Carolyn added that Robert said we were going to go to her friend's house in Palm Beach Island. I would give him a massage. I was going to make a lot of money. On her first visit to Epstein's Palm Beach home, Carolyn said that she entered through the kitchen with Roberts and met Maxwell. She said that she was an older lady with an accent and shoulder-length black hair. Carolyn called her Maxwell because she had a trouble pronouncing her first name. Roberts told Maxwell, "This is my friend Carolyn," Maxwell said. "You can bring her upstairs and show her what to do." Carolyn said that they went upstairs to Epstein's bathroom and Roberts got out the fold-up massage table and showed her where the massage oils were. Carolyn said Virginia had taken her clothes off and she asked if I would be comfortable taking off mine. I told her I would like to keep my bra and underwear on. Epstein came into the room and lay face down on the massage table. For the next 45 minutes, the 2 girls massaged the backs of his legs up the buttocks. Carolyn said, she said after 45 minutes, he turned over. Virginia got on top of them. They were having sex. Carolyn said, I was sitting on the couch right in front of them. Afterwards, Carolyn was paid $300 and $100, $100 bills they meant, and on the way out gave her phone number to Maxwell, she told the jury. Continued on. Carolyn told the jury that she would go on to visit the Epstein house over 100 times. More from the ages of 14 years old to 18, with some kind of sexual activity happening every single time. Maxwell would call her to schedule the appointment, and sometimes it was her assistant, Sarah Kellen. Carolyn says that she sometimes called Epstein to set up an appointment because she was young and $300 was a lot of money. Sometimes Maxwell would call Carolyn's home and her mother would take the call, shouting to her daughter that she has a call. Carolyn said that she used the money to pay for marijuana, cocaine, and alcohol to block out her feelings so she could get to the next appointment with Epstein. She also said that she was addicted to painkillers. Carolyn said that each time she went to the house, she would go into the kitchen where she would see Maxwell. If Epstein was out, she would say that he would be back soon. Carolyn admitted to Maxwell that later Epstein that her mother was an alcoholic and that she had been abused as a child, she told the jury. One time Maxwell asked if she had wanted to travel to an island, which Carolyn took to mean Epstein's private island in the Caribbean. Carolyn said, I told her there was no way in hell my mom was going to let me leave the country. I told her I was 14. Asked by a prosecutor, 𝘿𝑗𝑚𝐴, how old she was, Carolyn said, I was 14. Asked if Maxwell would continue to book her for appointments with Epstein after that, Carolyn said yes. Another time, Maxwell asked Carolyn about sex toys if I ever used them, and I said no. One time, when Carolyn was in Epstein's bathroom setting up the massage table, Maxwell came in. At the time, Carolyn was fully nude, as she had been to Epstein's so many times she was comfortable with no clothes on. Carolyn said she came in, felt my boobs and my hips and my buttocks. She said that I had a great body for Epstein and his friends. Maxwell bought Carolyn gifts such as Victoria's Secret lingerie, and she sent her home in Florida from New York, she told the jury. So this is another thing that I want to, this is why I highlighted this. This is called a love bombing portion of the grooming process. When a trafficker or romance, or what they call Romeo pimps, what they do is one of their tactics, especially that, you know, these girls or the victim comes from a broken home, more likely they're not going to have needs met in their household, whether it is basics like food, water, educational types of things, or, you know, maybe they're barely skimming on those needs, and they don't necessarily get rewarded with, like, you know, just adolescent things like, you know, purses or makeup, or, you know, things that maybe their family would allowance them to have. So with that being said, a lot of times the love bombing process is utilized in the grooming process, or love bombing, the tactic of love bombing is utilized in the grooming process to obtain and seal in the coercion of that victim. Just some knowledge for you guys. Another time, Maxwell gave her a massage book and tickets to see a band, 𝘿𝑈𝑏𝑄S. Carolyn admitted recruiting 3 other girls to take to Epstein's house. 2 were her age, which were 15 or 16 at the time, and another was a year old. So there is a repetitive pattern of Maxwell directing these girls to recruit other girls. Because yesterday we heard of Kate also testifying that Maxwell had directed her to please find somebody to give Epstein a B job. She said that each time she would get $600 and the girls would get $300 each, the bonus with $300 for bringing another girl. According to Carolyn, each massage lasted 45 minutes, and during the more than 100 visits, Epstein would touch her breasts and he would masturbate, and one time he tried to insert a vibrator into her genital, but she told him to stop, and he did. Carolyn said the vibrator looked like a D word. Carolyn said that sometimes the others took part in the massages and recalled seeing Maxwell, 2 of Epstein's friends, and 2 other girls in the massage room with her. One of the girls had long blonde hair and really strong accent. She did not specify from which country. She was in the room. Epstein had sex with the other girl, who performed oral sex on Carolyn. The second had a dark brown hair, and Carolyn said she was a model. Carolyn said that one time Epstein was having sex with her, but she said it was uncomfortable. They moved around, and Epstein had sex with the other girl, who performed oral on Carolyn. Asked about what she spent money on she got from Epstein's massages, Carolyn broke down in tears and said it was for drugs. She said she used a tissue to compose herself to wipe her eyes. Carolyn said that she paused going to Epstein in March 2004 when she gave birth to a child, but began going back because I needed the money to buy stuff for her baby. When Carolyn turned 18 and stopped going, because it became apparent that to Epstein she was too cold, she told the jury. Carolyn said that afterwards she worked as an escort and a stripper, sometimes being paid to have sex with men. She was on a range of medication for mental issues like schizophrenia, but insisted she knew when she was telling the truth. She admitted to being arrested in 2011 for cocaine possession and served 52 days in jail in 2013 for possession of stolen property. Carolyn sued Epstein and Kellen in 2009 and settled the case for $250,000. She applied to the Epstein Victims Compensation Fund more recently and was awarded between $1 million and $3 million, she told the jury. All right. Okay, so let's go to the transcripts. That was a big overview. As I stated yesterday, I want to give you guys more details because sometimes I find these details after the fact. So I'd rather load you guys up with all these details as well as the transcripts. So that way we have a good understanding of everything that is happening within the trial and also keeping each of these accountings accountable with the transcripts that this is actually happening. All right. Okay, the jury is in. Attorney USA Maureen Comey continues to direct the examination of FBI witness about the search of Epstein's Manhattan mansion. Attorney USA Comey says, "Who do you see in this photograph?" FBI witness says Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. Attorney USA Maureen Comey now asked, "Now let's turn to the non-public binder. What is it?" FBI witness says, "A photo of the investigation." Attorney USA Comey says, "We offer it under seal." Judge Nathan says, "It is sealed." After a brief cross-examination, "You don't know when the photos were taken, do you?" Next, U.S. witness is Stephen Flatley, FBI CART coordinator, digital forensic examiner, and Quantico instructor. Attorney USA says, "What is this?" Flatley says, "A hard drive I examined in this case." Attorney USA says, "What is the registered organization for this computer and hard drive?" FBI's Flatley says GMAX. Attorney USA says, "And this email?" Flatley replies, "From GMAX. Mindspring.com," she says, "I need to know what the list John is using. No matter in black murk, no pens, pool deck, filthy." Oh, okay. I think this is from the file. This is what the file said. "I need to know what list John," who I think she's referring to 𝘱𝑗, is using. "No water in black murk, no pens, pool deck is filthy." Flatley says GMAX wrote the massage creams in J.E.'s bathroom were a mess. Attorney USA then says, "We offer Exhibit 418 under seal." Judge Nathan says, "Admitted under seal." Attorney USA Pomerantz then asks, "And this document?" FBI Flatley says it's GMAX. It's about massage lotion products. For those asking, it's dated September 7, 2002. Now Flatley is reading notes about Ghislaine written by GMAX, including Jeffrey and Ghislaine really complement each other and they are great partners. Also, they are boyfriend and girlfriend and like what some may think. Attorney USA Pomerantz says no further questions. Now the cross-examination. Maxwell's lawyer, Laura Menninger, says, "You don't know if anything was changed in the course of copying, do you?" FBI Flatley says, "I suppose I don't." Menninger then says, "And you could find out GMAX was in the same place as the computer." And with that, a whimper, not a bang, Flatley is done. Judge Nathan then says, "Members of the jury will take our mid-morning break." So then there's a break. Continued on, we move on to Carolyn, the third witness. Attorney USA then asks, "Carolyn, how far did you go in school?" Carolyn replies, 7th grade. "My mother was an alcoholic. I got introduced to Mr. Epstein to give him a massage. I said, okay." "How old were you?" She says, 14. "Who greeted you?" "Miss Maxwell." "What did she look like?" "An older lady with an English accent. I couldn't pronounce her first name correctly, so I called her Maxwell." Attorney USA asks, "How much money did you get?" Carolyn says 300 in hundreds. Attorney USA, "How much did Virginia Roberts Giuffre get?" Carolyn says, "I don't know. Maxwell asked me for my phone number." Then the attorney asks, "What would Maxwell ask you when she called?" Carolyn says, "If I'd be available when they flew in. They asked me to travel overseas. I said there was no way my mother was okay." Attorney USA then says, "Did you tell Maxwell how old you were?" Carolyn says, "I told her I was 14. Carolyn says, "Maxwell came in and felt my boobs. She told me that I had a great body for Epstein and his friends." Attorney USA then says, how did that relate to your breast and hip size? Carolyn says, she said I had a great body. Witness sounds like she was about to cry. Attorney USA, when you were naked, who would come into the bathroom or into the room? I'm sorry. Carolyn says, Mr. Epstein. First, I would massage him. He would ask about my upbringing. Attorney USA says, would Maxwell ever pay you? Carolyn says, yes. She handed me 3 $100 bills. Continued on. Carolyn then says, Maxwell and Jeffrey wanted my address. I got sent lingerie, concert tickets, and a book called Massage for Dummies. Attorney then asks, how did you bring friends to Jeffrey Epstein's house? Carolyn responds, Amanda Laszlo, 1 year older than me. Carolyn then says, also Tatum and Julie. He asked me to bring younger people. I told him I don't hang out with younger people, but there were some people I could ask. When I brought them, I got paid $600 and she got paid $300. Attorney, so you guys see how it was like kind of a pyramid scheme. Attorney USA then says, what did they do? Carolyn responds, sex and oral sex. Attorney USA then says, what did you do with the money that they paid you? Carolyn says, I was buying drugs. Now the witness is sobbing. You need to, then Attorney USA then says, you need to say it into the microphone. Attorney USA then says, then what major event? Carolyn says, I had a baby. Attorney USA then says, did you go back to Jeffrey Epstein's house? Carolyn says, yes, I had gone there while I was pregnant. Attorney USA then says, I'm asking about after you had the baby. Carolyn says, I needed the money, but I realized I was too old. Attorney USA then asks, did you later pawn an Xbox that wasn't yours? Carolyn says, I did. I did jail time. I did drug treatment and therapy. I take methadone and Xanax and 2 others. Carolyn continues, I'm constantly afraid of my children being trafficked. Attorney then asks, are you in touch with the father, Sean? Carolyn says, no, not since the Xbox pawn shop thing. Attorney USA then says, have you worked for an escort service and had sex with men for money? Carolyn says, sometimes. Attorney USA then says, what did Maxwell do to you? Carolyn then responds, she took pictures of me nude and the stuff with Epstein. Attorney USA then says, who decided who you would sue? Maxwell's lawyer says, objection. Judge Nathan says, sustained. To Carolyn, who is speaking, don't answer when I say sustained. And now cross-examination by Maxwell's lawyer, Jeffrey Palooka. Palooka then asks, Sean was afraid of Virginia Roberts' boyfriend, Tony, right? And you all smoked marijuana together and drank alcohol. Carolyn then says, we didn't drink any alcohol. Palooka then says, Virginia Roberts told you can make $300? Carolyn said no. Palooka then says, when Roberts approached you about making this $500, Maxwell was not there, correct? Carolyn says, it was me, Virginia. Palooka then asks, Maxwell was not involved in the conversation, right? Carolyn said, right. Alert, Ghislaine Maxwell's lawyer, Jeff Palooka, just said the last name of this witness. Intercity Press caught it in time. It was not tweeting, but Attorney USA Comey said nothing, nor did the court. So this is happening repeatedly, ladies and gentlemen. This is what happened, I believe, with Kate. You know, they were continually saying the witness accuser's name under pseudonym protection, and I don't know what's happening to this. Judge Nathan says we'll break for lunch, so they go on break. So continued on. This will continue into another thread. All right, continued on. Palooka. Look at the notes the FBI took in your interview about a lady with a short black hair and an unknown accent. They didn't cut you off, correct? Carolyn said, that was a bad day for me. I wasn't expecting the FBI to come to my home. Palooka said, you knew that a British accent was, but you said an unknown accent, right? And Carolyn said, the day that you're talking about, Palooka said, I'd ask the court to make her answer. Palooka said, for the second visit to Mr. Epstein's house, you sat in the kitchen and spoke with the chef, right? Carolyn said, I don't remember if it was the second visit or after. Palooka said, show the witness what she said in 2007. Carolyn says, and I'm assuming this is an FBI statement, the FBI didn't ask me about Maxwell. Palooka says, are you saying the FBI limited what you could say? Carolyn then responds, they didn't ask me about Maxwell. 𝘭𝘠𝑘�𝑍𝑎 says, but you told the FBI about Sarah and the Incubus tickets from Epstein. Carolyn said, yes. 𝘭𝘠𝑘𝐿 then says, you moved to Florida, to Georgia? And Carolyn says, yes. I want to talk about the lawsuits you filed. Carolyn says, what does that have to do with me moving to Georgia? After 𝘭𝘠𝑘𝐿, that was spicy. After 𝘭𝘠𝑘𝐿 asked Carolyn again and again about the FBI's 302s and the lawsuit paragraphs, Judge Nathan declared the afternoon break, saying that she'll be addressing the objection now out of the presence of the jury. Judge Nathan says, let's pick up the first factual paragraph. 𝘭𝘠𝑘𝐿 says, we argue the entire complaint is inconsistent. By omission, she mentions Sarah Kellen and not Ms. Maxwell. Attorney Maureen Comey, the prosecution team, said this was a lawsuit against two defendants. There was no reason that the third parties would be in. Judge Nathan says, I'm letting it in. Judge, before the jury comes back in, Attorney USA Comey asks how long the cross-examination is going to be. It's already been longer than the direct. No answer. All rise. 𝘭𝘠𝑘𝐿 says, do you recall the abusing drugs at the age of 13? Carolyn says, if you call pot drugs, yes. 𝘭𝘠𝑘𝐿 says, so you went to Georgia to detox, right? Carolyn says, no, I went to Georgia to escape traumatic events in my life. 𝘭𝘠𝑘𝐿 says, let's talk about your claims of sex with Epstein. Isn't it true you used cocaine while you were at Mr. Epstein's house? Carolyn said, no. Carolyn says, what does any of this have to do with what I'm here for today? Ghislaine Maxwell fondled me and broke my soul. 𝘭𝘠𝑘𝐿 says, move to strike. Judge Nathan then presides, Carolyn, you have to follow my rules. Jury will disregard. 𝘭𝘠𝑘𝐿 then asks, you received these funds from the Epstein Compensation Fund. Carolyn says, no amount of money will ever heal. 𝘭𝘠𝑘𝐿 moved to strike. Judge Nathan then says, jury will disregard. I instruct the witness to comply with the rules. So it seems to be that Carolyn is getting emotional, which, after going through what she goes through, this could be very agitating that the defense attorney is asking her unrelative questions. But she's continuously violating the court rules. 𝘭𝘠𝑘𝐿 then asks, you claimed you saw a photograph of Miss Maxwell pregnant, correct? Carolyn said, nude and pregnant. That was on multiple. 𝘭𝘠𝑘𝐿 says, no further questions. USA Maureen Comey says, 3 minutes. Did you write your legal complaint? Carolyn said, no. Crying. Attorney USA Comey says, what year was it when you were 13? Carolyn says, if I do the math, yes. Attorney USA Comey says, are you here to get money? And Carolyn says, no, what she did is wrong and she took young girls. 𝘭𝘠𝑘𝐿 says, objection. Attorney USA Comey says, no further questions. 𝘭𝘠𝑘𝐿, the $446,000 you got in 2009 was gone in 2012, correct? Carolyn says, I don't know, sir. I have children to take care of. 𝘭𝘠𝑘𝐿 says, you can't recall how you spent the $446,000? You lost all of it? No further questions. Judge Nathan says, jurors, we're 2 minutes over. See you tomorrow. Clerk, all rise. So with that being said. Okay, so another witness testimony. We heard from Carolyn, and we saw some new photos of the Manhattan house, what seemed to be some CDs that they obtained, and some contents of the files that were on one of the hard drives that were examined. It seems to be that the defense is continually trying to try the credibility of these witnesses, and it's sad that one of the witnesses was barred from testifying in this particular time. So with that being said, that is day 7 of the Ghislaine Maxwell trial. I will bring you guys updates tomorrow as we go through the Ghislaine Maxwell trial day 8. Thank you all for your time and attention. Thank you for wanting to be, in tuned with this type of news. Like I said, I don't think a lot of people are covering it to this extent, and I really find it as a counter-trafficking advocate myself and as a volunteer standpoint, seeing these victims for myself and seeing the life as it harms their lives and just the transcendence of their being. This is something that is near and dear to my heart. Something about me as well. I also started it's an organization called the Counter Trafficking Alliance. We are starting groundwork into, moving towards eradicating this horrible epidemic in our lifetime. And right now we're under the works of getting some things underway with some volunteers, and that is starting very soon. So with that being said, that's why I'm so passionate and bringing you guys the news. I so appreciate your heart for this. And hey, I am not a Tucker Carlson or Laura Ingraham. I don't get big money. This is just me on a day-to-day basis. I am viewer funded. So if you feel on your heart that this news worth it to you, and you feel that my work is important, please consider giving your appreciation in the tip jar listed below. There are various ways. I really appreciate that. That's what pays for my food and keeps the lights on. So thank you so much. I love you all. Thank you again. I will catch you guys in the next episode. Bye-bye.